Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today I want to talk about ICP because what we've seen happening in the past couple of days, in my opinion, could not be more bullish for ICP. Now, some of you who stay really in tune with the ICP news and all this stuff might say, well, I don't think I've seen anything like that bullish happening within the ICP ecosystem that I should be this excited about. Yes, you would be right, because the things that I'm talking about haven't even happened in the ICP ecosystem directly, right? But this is, in my opinion, what makes it such amazing news. And so we're going to be talking about that here in a little bit. Basically, everybody's trying to come into ICP's territory and do what ICP is already doing. And so this, in my opinion, is massive news. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. But before we get into it, we are going to look at crypto bubbles for the day. We can see overall pretty green day in the market. Things looking good. We can see ICP up 5%. If we look at the week, ICP up, just shy of 11%. Obviously, kind of a lot of other things in the market outperforming it, but that's okay. I mean, ICP has kind of been a slow mover so far, but if we do look at the ICP chart, we can see it's moved really quite well. And what we are seeing right now is actually another breakout. We were seeing kind of this very, very long ascending wedge, and we're now kind of seeing a smaller version of exactly that. And we have broken out of at least kind of this lower level. We do have this kind of upper level that we've seen kind of wicks up to right now. We've come back down from those wicks. Let's zoom in a little bit, we can see we've come back down from those wicks up at the high. Now, whether we can kind of continue through it and break through this level of resistance that we are kind of finding here, or if we come back down, maybe fall back onto this trend line that we'd be seeing kind of going up this way. Maybe we fall back to the larger trend line all the way, at sub $10. I really don't think that something like that would happen, but it is possible. We do have this level of support here at about 1086, somewhere, something like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of different options and possibilities going on here. But overall, I mean, in my opinion, things are looking really, really strong for ICP. I do tend to think that we probably will kind of retest this and break, at least continue to this next resistance level of 13 and a half. It's kind of what I'm thinking. We can see in the RSI, not quite overbought yet, so things looking good. We have seen a slight uptick in volume, but not really too much. I mean, things looking overall pretty stable. We haven't, I think, seen many eyes come to the ICP network or the ICP ecosystem yet. We're going to talk about that. I mean, newsflash, it's not going to be anything different than what we said in any of my other videos, which is the marketing and the social media presence, all that stuff is just really non-existent for ICP. I know they're focusing on the tech. I know they think tech will talk first. I somewhat disagree with that. Obviously, I think having the best tech is very important, but I don't necessarily believe that having the best tech will just win out if nobody even knows who you are. And so that's kind of where I tend to disagree a little bit there. But overall, I mean, from price, things looking okay. I think we have a lot to be happy about. If we go back to where the beginning of this would have all kicked off, the 5th of November here, we were seeing, we were sitting at about $7. We're now sitting at 12 and a half. So almost 2x, from that low there. Honestly, looking pretty good if you ask me. I would be happy with this move. I am happy with this move. I think this is something that things are, obviously we haven't seen 4x's or anything like some of these Cardano or ICP or stuff like that has done. But I do think overall, given what we're holding and the lack of kind of hype and buzz around ICP and all that type of stuff, I think we're sitting in a pretty good spot. So if you are interested in trading ICP or anything else for that matter, feel free to use Margex. I do have a link in the description below for Margex. They do up to $10,000 in deposit bonuses, as well as no KYC or VPN needed. So it's very, very easy to just get started and get signed up. They do up to 100x on some things. I think on ICP it's 25x. So if you are interested, I mean, especially when we're seeing such nice moves like this, I haven't taken any yet. I'm probably, depending on what we see happen here, I probably will end up doing a 2, 3, 4, 5x long on ICP, just because I do think we are going to see a really nice move to the upside there. And if we've got the conviction in that and things are looking pretty good in the market, I'll probably take a low leverage trade. Obviously, this is not financial advice. You need to make your own decisions as far as what you want to do and if that's something that makes sense for you. But I think for me, that's something I'm definitely I'm considering. I just want to make sure that I'm getting in at a point that makes sense here. Now, going on, I want to take a look at the ICP dashboard because we've seen a couple of things going on here that look pretty good. I mean, obviously, cycle burn rate has seemed to spike a little bit. It's kind of come down to previous kind of, I would say, the new baseline after this this massive spike here in early September. But seeing some recent spikes up to just shy of $1 trillion per second, which is not bad at all. We are seeing smart contracts. They've kind of flattened off a little bit, but still rising, you know, at least somewhat. Transactions per second, obviously, lightning fast compared to everything else that we're seeing in the crypto ecosystem. Things looking good over here. Now, one of the things I want to take a look at today is ckBTC. That is essentially what we're going to be talking about. Now, we have a little bit on ckBTC here, but before we get into that, I did want to talk just kind of generally and set the stage of what we're getting into. And so over the past couple of days, you've probably seen, well, maybe you haven't, but I did release a couple videos. I released one kind of focusing on Cardano specifically, and then one earlier, I believe yesterday, on XRP. Now, what we saw in both of those videos is how their chain integrates with BTC directly, right? And that's, I mean, that's essentially what ICP has been doing. That's something that they've been focused on very, very hard. We have the TAP protocol that is essentially somewhat built on ICP and leveraging their technology, using their Chainkey cryptography, all of that type of stuff. So there's a lot of things that ICP has done that a lot of these new projects are kind of tuning into. And we can see Cardano's trying to enter the arena, XRP is trying to enter the arena, TAP is kind of trying to kind of stake their own piece there. I mean, really what I think this next cycle is going to be, at least it becomes more clear to me as we're starting to see some of these developments, is I do think we're going to see a ton of trying to figure out how do we unlock Bitcoin and how do we unlock the Bitcoin ecosystem? Because right now, at least, there's a lot of people who have a ton of conviction, a ton of belief, like Bitcoin is the gold standard for within the crypto space, right? And so I think what we saw previous cycles is we've been trying to find people that are like the Bitcoin killers. They can just do Bitcoin but better. And I think we're kind of far enough down that experiment now to say, like, I don't think people care, right? Like, people want Bitcoin because it's Bitcoin, and they don't care if, like, you can do Bitcoin but better. Like, I mean, there's a lot of people that can do Bitcoin but better at this point, but it's not Bitcoin, and that's exactly it, right? And so I think we're starting to see this very at least so far, it seems like it's happening very quietly, and I think until it happens all at once, and then it'll be the only thing anybody can talk about. But what we're seeing right now, though, is I think we're starting to see that transition of, okay, well, Bitcoin is Bitcoin, so in order to unlock the value on Bitcoin, how can we essentially integrate with it the best, the cleanest, the quickest, the most legitimate, all of that type of stuff? Because that is essentially what I think people are going to have their eyes on. Because right now, Bitcoin is kind of boring in the sense that, like, you can hold on to it and that's pretty much about all you can do. There's no real use for Bitcoin other than, like, really it being a store of value, right? But what happens when ICP, for example, can unlock a lot of that functionality, and, you know, you can lend your Bitcoins, you can stake your Bitcoins, you can, I don't know, vote with your Bitcoins, you do whatever you want to do with your Bitcoins, but, like, you can do it in a way that is not currently possible because Bitcoin, like the actual Bitcoin network, can't really support that. And I do think that's a really interesting idea, because if you can keep the Bitcoin network layer as of just very basic, nothing really too fancy, it's just very kind of pure in what it does and what it is, then I think that makes a lot of sense, and it allows some of these other chains to essentially kind of integrate with Bitcoin and build a lot of that functionality on their layer, keeping Bitcoin itself as basic and secure and all of that type of stuff as possible. So anyway, that's kind of like what we're talking about here. We can see ICP already has, like, very, very well developed, like, processes and programs and implementations and all this type of stuff for essentially coding on the Bitcoin network. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it, but essentially you've got the Chainkey cryptography signatures, and what ICP can do is they can essentially, like, reach into Bitcoin, like essentially like an API, if you were to think about it. They can reach into Bitcoin, they can interact within the Bitcoin ecosystem, they can do all this type of stuff, but what they do is they're essentially, ICP has its own, like, self-contained smart contracts called canisters that can hold the Bitcoin, they can interact with it, they can do all of these different types of things. So it actually holds the real, like, one-to-one collateralized Bitcoin, but it's not holding it like bridges do, right? Because bridges do the same thing, but it makes bridges, like, it makes it really easy for bridges to, like, get hacked and all that type of stuff because of all of the Bitcoin that's kind of held in one place. Where with ICP, it's all held within these self-contained canisters or these smart contracts, and then it moves it around in conjunction with what's happening on the ICP ecosystem. So there's a lot of really, really interesting things that are going on the ICP ecosystem. And I think now that we see people like XRP or Cardano or projects like these who have a ton of retail attention, they've got a ton of hype, there's a ton of influencers that cover them constantly, there's all this type of stuff. I think hopefully, it's at least my hope, that we're going to start seeing these people kind of get get their eyes like turned on to ICP in a little bit, just because they're now in a space that is competing directly with, you know, their XRP or their Cardano or whatever they happen to be a super fan of. But they'll at least be able to see like, oh wow, there's another project doing exactly this, and like it already does it. It's not like this whole possibility thing that they could do at some point in the future. No, like it happens today, right? And so I think that's at least one of my possibilities for the future. And I think if that does happen, then I think ICP really just goes nuts in the long term, just because I think we're going to see some pretty crazy stuff going on if we do happen to see that. So anyway, I want to bring that to your attention today, just because I do think it is massively important. We're seeing some really, really good stuff happening within the ICP ecosystem. Hopefully you did find this information useful. If you did, please do give me a like and subscribe, because it really does help me out. Also, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, anything like that, please feel free to put those in the comment section below, because I do try to read and respond to all of them. Also, like I said, if you are looking to, you know, buy, sell, trade, whatever ICP, you can feel free to do so on Margex. Margex, I do most of my trading on it, so I do really like it. If you are interested, just feel free to click that link in the description below and go ahead and get signed up. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.